Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news and notes mashup video today, and quite jam-packed with all sorts of bits and pieces, announced fights. But we'll start with Joyce, who's taken aim at Anthony Joshua's style, saying he's never truly developed his potential as a pro. Saying, I guess he didn't really make any changes as a pro. He stayed with the amateur setup with his amateur trainer in Robert McCracken. I mean, he's a good coach and good for the GB setup. Anyway, I think he's still kind of learning, but I don't know what has happened. He's a bit gun-shy now because he's been knocked down and been out on his feet a lot of times. He's got phenomenal power and his boxing abilities are very tidy and stuff, and he's a great businessman. So yeah, I want to fight him one day and I hope he's up for the challenge. And I guess some people might say, has Joyce fully sort of shed his amateur style? Anyway, moving on. So Frank Warren's prospect David Adeleye, who's unbeaten, will be facing Bezus, who's been involved in other combat disciplines. He's also unbeaten. This will be a card that will be at the York Hall on the 17th of February. So we'll go down to the comments from Frank Warren. So Adeleye, though, 10-0. And Bezus is 10-0, also 5 KOs. So he's Ukrainian but lives in Latvia. So we have Frank Warren saying, and this is also of the other fighter on the card, this is a great opportunity for Mark Chamberlain and David Adeleye to enjoy top billing at York Hall. I expect both of them to really push on this year and reinforce their status as two of the leading prospects in the country, and this will be an important night for them after missing out on fights last year due to injury. I believe it's realistic aim for both Mark and David to be hunting down British titles in the near future, and I'm confident they would be successful in this. And actually, I like those comments from Frank Warren, at least in terms of managing expectations for David Adeleye, talking about that, you know, he's up and coming on the UK scene and looking to go for, you know, a British title. Not sort of over-egging the situation, because I think, let's face it, David Adeleye, even though he's still unbeaten, that Sokolowski fight, which was back in 2021, really showed how raw he was and how much work there needed to still be done to polish him up and get him to any real level. And he got a gift decision that night. But his opponent, Bezus, so unbeaten at this point, I haven't seen a lot of him, but he has been a guy that has been in training camps with Alexander Usyk. So this is back from 2021, so the first Joshua fight. So from what I've seen, I mean, he seems like a decent heavyweight, got some decent skills, and here's a little bit of footage from his, okay, it's not going to play, is it? Okay, there we go. I mean, this is on the pads, can't take too much from that, but this is a little bit of sparring footage here. He's been involved in other sports, kickboxing and, you know, that sort of thing. Hard to really know how good he is, but what I would say is that this is definitely the toughest fight for David Adeleye since that gift over Kamil Sokolowski. And if we actually check out Adelaye's record, his resume on BoxRec, so 10-0, 9 KOs, and you have a situation, Kamil Sokolowski, 2021, he's been feasting on low-level journeymen since. Mladen Marnev, Dominic Musil, Chris Healy, Elvis Garcia. And Elvis Garcia, that is the Mexican Elvis Garcia, not the more tougher, endurable American version, who would have been a much tougher fight than this version of Elvis Garcia. So this is stepping it up a little bit in 2023 from the last couple of years of obviously development in the gym, development in the ring, and not pushing him too much, too fast. And as they mentioned, Adeleye has also been injured to some extent as well. But he on his social media says, watch me headline at the iconic York Hall, ready for war. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is actually going to be quite close and competitive. Although, you know, having said that, with not much to go on in terms of fight footage and knowing too much about Bezus beyond that he's been a sparring partner for, you know, different heavyweights, also Robert Helenius towards the end of last year, you know, it's a bit of an open question. But you have a guy in Adeleye who I think in terms of prospects on the British scene, yeah, he's probably one of the better ones, but in terms of, I don't really think he's in the conversation among best prospects in the world. If I was to do a top 10 prospects coming up, he wouldn't be in my list. So he's tough, he's strong. I think he's going to have trouble at a higher level with volume and his work rate. That Sokolowski fight was a little bit of an indicator of that. Doesn't throw enough punches, admires his work a little bit too much. But I think at a certain level, he's just going to be blasting guys out, as he has feasting on journeymen the last couple of years. But Bezus, the first sort of test since the Sokolowski fight, so I'm interested. Really interested to see what happens, how he goes. Is Adeleye actually going to show us some wrinkles that he's developed in his game? That he's not just, big and strong, that he's got a little bit of something about him, a bit more nuance, and there's some skill developing in behind the sort of raw aggression. I guess we shall see. Jermaine Franklin's name has again popped into the mix for Anthony Joshua, and this is a name that was mentioned before Christmas by Eddie Hearn, but it's being reported by the Daily Star, and this is re-reported here by Michael Benson, that Joshua reportedly could face Jermaine Franklin in his next fight on April 1st, as the American has now emerged as one of the frontrunners. Though there is no deal done yet, it's claimed that Dempsey McKean is not expected to be picked. In terms of Franklin, is it really realistic coming off a loss? And that's a question. Do fans want to see Joshua facing a fighter who's just come off a loss? It was a good fight with Dillian Whyte, but it was still, in the end, a loss. But some of this could again be, as I mentioned in other videos about Dempsey McKean, that while they're in the running, is it more of a case of throwing out different options to signal to the person that they're really targeting, look, we have these other options, and if you're not going to wind your neck in on the negotiation front, we'll go with someone else. I mean, it seems to be that whoever the main target is, and it's suspected could be Otto Wallin, there could be other names in the mix. Certainly Gerald Washington and Chris Ariola's names have been mentioned elsewhere and sort of bandied around. Maybe there's someone else in the mix. I've heard online people talking about Luis Ortiz and names of that ilk, but everyone, if they're fighting Joshua, wants to make major money, and they're going to be holding out for the most amount of money. And obviously the promoter, Eddie Hearn, doesn't want to pay over the odds when they do have actually a lot of different options. Eddie Hearn has spoken about, well, people will be impressed with the opponent. I guess watch the space. Is it going to be Franklin? I'd say not. But I would say McKean, though, as I mentioned in another video, if it's not him, and it's seemingly sort of the hype around him as an opponent has died down, but he will probably be on the Joshua undercard. As I mentioned, his profile has got a huge boost, and all of a sudden people will be like, oh yeah, McKean, we'll see what he's all about. Solomon Dacres, he has been ordered by the British Boxing Board of Control to face Robert Ismay for the English title. And as the circular for January 2023 says, the stewards decided to approve a request from promoter Eddie Hearn for the above contest, which will take place in March 2023 in Newcastle. And Robert Ismay. Who is Robert Ismay, you might be asking? And I was thinking, not really on my radar, and it turns out 11-0, 35 years old, and has fought as low as just, above light heavyweight, but sort of below the cruiserweight limit. And really interesting because he had a whole bundle of low-level fights, mostly against losing records and, low-level journeymen, 2011 to 2013, racked up about, 6-7 fights, whatever it was, and then had a 6-year absence, came back in 2019 for one fight, 2-year break, 2021, one fight against Josh Sandlin, so that's a name I do recognise. He's, a pretty low-level journeyman, but he stopped him in a round, and then he's faced someone in 2022, got a knockout there as well. So this screams to me bloated record and overmatched opponents. So Solomon Dacres, who has been training with Joseph Parker in recent weeks, probably going to get the win and be an English champion. Robert Ismay kind of feels like he might be a lamb to the slaughter in this situation. And just on the sparring, as someone noted to me, it looks like maybe Dacres or perhaps Michael Webster here on the right have been touching up Joseph Parker just a bit in sparring, giving him that work. So whether camp is going well or not for Parker, unclear, but Solomon Dacres looking pretty happy, as they say. What is it? Grit is a winner's. Moving on, Matty Harris, who will be on the Eubank and Smith card, the 6'8" British prospect, currently 3-0. He says, camp has been brilliant. I've been through multiple camps for fights that haven't been able to materialize, so I'm more than ready and I'm looking forward to it. I've improved everything across the board between my last fight and now. My footwork, my boxing ability, my punch power. I can't wait to get out there and perform. It's a pleasure to be on such a big card, and I'm going to make sure I take full advantage of the opportunity to be part of such an event by letting people know that the rise of Matty Harris is only going to gain more momentum. People will mention my performance once the night is done. And Harris, he's 6'8". You can't teach height, but decent skills, still a bit raw, bit of power, but I think he's a project and we just really have to give him time to sort of see where he's at. And the same too with Lorenzo Medina, so the 18-year-old heavyweight who's currently 4-0. He was meant to be in another fight, but it got canned. He's been added to a ProBox TV card on January the 25th. So looking forward to seeing ProBox. So that's only a couple of dollars a month for ProBox. So, and I think actually this one here, this card, I think there was something that on ProBox's website said it might be free, this one on YouTube and Facebook. So do look out for that one. Actually, yeah, see, watch ProBox TV, free and frictionless, no sign up on Facebook and YouTube starting January 25th. So yeah, make of that what you will. So you'll get to see a young American prospect. Antonio Mireles, he has been added to a card on March the 25th between Jose Ramirez and Richard Comey. So I'll just flick down to where they mention his fight. So Antonio El Gigante Mireles, currently 6-0. He will be aiming for a knockout number 7 in a 6-rounder. Mireles has had 3 first-round knockouts and 3 second-round stoppages on his ledger. They do sort of leave out there that he was in a bit of trouble in his, I believe it was his last fight, dropped to the canvas against the Journeyman. So he's also a guy that, well, he's got good height. You know, the skills look okay and the power okay, but it's a work in progress sort of situation. But yeah, you can't teach height, and some of these guys, if they can start to really sort of ramp up their skills and ability and utilize some of their natural advantages, they become much harder to beat. But I think, you know, it's to sort of watch the space with guys like Mireles, Medina, Matty Harris, even David Adeleye. I mean, it's kind of like, where's he really at? How far is he going? You know, only time will tell, but we can only sort of make assessments on what we see right now. And Justis Huni, he says that he's hoping to be back in the ring in March. You may recall that after his fight, last fight against Kikitola Tally, he was out, injured hands, all that sort of stuff, not requiring surgery. That was announced recently, so good to see him back soon. And you might have been wondering, in the title of the video, it was hashtag BJ, and that's Bakhodir Jalolov, who's announced on his social media that it's hashtag BJ time, soon next fight. Maybe he doesn't realize that that can be taken another way and could mean something else, but yeah. So hashtag BJ time, obviously, for Bakhodir Jalolov, using his initials, but you got to be careful, man. You got to be careful. And rounding up this heavyweight news and notes mashup video, the heavyweight boxing division's favorite grifter, Christopher Lovejoy, says he's got $40,000 to offer guys to fight, and he has been calling out Johnny Fisher for a fight in the next couple of months. We'll play the clip, and that will round out the video. Thank you for watching.
So let's find a small promoter, and we can make Johnny Fisher an offer. You know what I'm saying? To fight me. He could be the opponent. Or Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, what y'all want to do? I'll put my own money up. I'll make the money in the back end. Co-pro with me. Lovejoy Boxing, let's make this fight happen. I got my own money. This ain't no money grab. I could bring 40,000 U.S. currency over there. Let's make this fight happen. Y'all playing games and stalling. Everybody saying this, that, and the other. Y'all reposting shit, saying my name. I'm trying to fight, bro. You feel me? So listen. What y'all want to do, man? I got my own money. I can put the money up. Either a small promoter, let's make Johnny Fisher an offer, or Matchroom, co-promote with me, I'll put the money up, bro. I'll make my money in the back end. You know what I'm saying? That shit gonna sell tickets. Let's just make this shit happen, man. Stop playing these games. The boy's scared, let it be known, man, so I can move forward, man. You know what I'm saying? But I'm coming out there anyway. I booked my own room, booked my own flight. I'll be there March 1st, man. You know what I'm saying? What's happening? What we doing?